of that programme, because I think it was one of the most watched scenes on television that year, or over 10 years. Right? And he scratches, and he wins, and the camera comes up to his face, and he just looks up at the little angel up on the tree, right, as if to say, thank you. And that was a very happy time. He was able to get bicycles and everything that for the kids.
Ash?
Yeah.
You're going in and all you're doing is you're going to walk through into the kitchen and you're going to just put the kettle. It's kind of just to be angry. And then he's going to follow you in. It's all in one camera in...
Carrigstown Christy, when I heard about it first as a possibility, when the producer mentioned it, I thought, I don't know. Funny enough, Aisling and myself had been in the show almost as long as each other, but we'd circled each other, you know what I mean? We never actually crossed paths, not to mind swords. So I thought, I don't know, and yet, when you think about it, they're from similar backgrounds.
We just committed ourselves to it, and it's working out quite well. See, she's gone out with a lot of really rough characters, so I think she sees a decent man, and she's going to go with that.
I enjoy it. I enjoy all of the scenes with her because she's so sparky, so fiery, and then she can suddenly turn into this vulnerable kitten. It's great.
I thought I was in the right, but Ali put me straight. I shouldn't think the worst of people. It's a bad habit. It's just, well, I don't think I've ever been with someone who was faithful or halfway decent to me before. So it might take a bit of getting used to. That's my line.
It's because they are not obviously romantic material that it has the potential, I think, to be a love story.
Oh, you really can't see through her, can you?
Right, let's have a look at it from Pearl's walk around.
The breakfasts, the mugs of tea.
She offered you a mug too, you said no.
Oh yeah, the three of us sitting around drinking tea. And me feeling like a gooseberry.
There's no reason to.
I know her game.
In 1998, we see the start of a romance between Suzanne and Damien, a relationship that will end in marriage years later.
The way it developed was kind of very natural, and at that age it was just great excitement every time we were in, you know, to do a scene. And great excitement when we had lines, you know, because we used to just run around the background. But if we got a line, it was all, oh, we get to say something this time, so.
Did you ever snog anyone in the crowd?
No.
You what?
I don't know.
You know, if you ever make a decision on that...
I'll let you know.
Lorraine Malloy begins dating Jack Shanahan, a doctor in the local hospital, and apparently a good catch.
Jack, we're closed.
I didn't come in for a bap.
I said I'd be home. You can't go sneaking up on people.
I want to talk to you.
But there's nothing to say.
Lorraine.
Jack, let me go.
I'm not holding you.
No, but you're standing in my way.
I want to talk to you.
Jack, let me pass.
For the love of God, Lorraine, will you listen for once?
Jack?
I've got a knife here. Do you want me to hurt myself?
No. No, of course not.
You won't listen to me. Is that it?
Right. Jack, you're beginning to freak me out now, okay?
You know something? Could have been really good for both of us.
Jack?
Hey, Lorraine, are you all right?
Lorraine, what's wrong?
What happened?
Talking up the beast.
You
Get up! Don't even think about it. See this guy here? This man here, this Dr. Shanahan. He raped my daughter. This piece of scum raped my daughter. You swine. Right? You would? Right?
Oh, you just do as you please, don't you?
Just get off me back, will you?
One of the biggest stories that year is the disintegrating relationship between Paul and Helen, and its tragic conclusion.
Where are you going?
The humour lunch is gone off.
Do you know, you never do any of the things that you promised, but when I remind you I'm a nagging now cow, is that it?
Yeah, well, you're turning into a right one, all right.
Well, do you know what, Paul? They were right about us.
Who's they?
I should never have gone ahead with it.
And what should you do then,
I should have stayed in the church with Mike.
They just had a row, and Paul stormed off, as he'd used to do a lot of, and he still does actually. Flounces out of the house, and he went off and went into a bar and got chatting up this woman, and she comes in, she catches him chatting up to the woman, and she leaves. He goes after her, jumps in the car, and they're arguing.
Just drive me to Natalie's, right? Let me pick up my daughter and go home. Sick of you.
Yeah. The next time you get part...
I remember doing that because we had to, because they wouldn't we wouldn't have us in the car when they had to smash. So they had 4 or 5 prop guys standing outside with the camera just over the bonnet of the car, and the 4 or 5 prop guys with sledgehammers going at the window to smash the window, and us two going like that. It was quite funny. Had to be there, but it was that's my abiding memory of the car crash. It was Ciara's last scene, Ciara Carroll, who played Helen, and myself and Ciara had become very good friends, and we had a good working relationship.
We'll take her off life support when you said your goodbyes. Please take however long you need.
It was very emotional because it was Ciara's last day, so I was kind of saying goodbye to Helen and saying goodbye to Ciara as well. So it was emotional doing it, and the tears were real, I think, because I was saying goodbye to my mate, you know.
Don't go on me. Please don't go on me, please. God, don't go. Oh, no, don't go.
But as one relationship ends, another is beginning, as Malachy the priest tastes the forbidden fruit and falls in love with pub landlady Kay McCoy, recently divorced from Noel.
I was originally asked to do it by John Lynch, who was the producer at the time, and he told me that he was a priest, and I actually was reluctant because I've played so many priests in my acting career. I don't know why. I really don't know why. But he assured me that he was an ex-priest. But when I arrived and saw the script, he wasn't an ex-priest, and I was very worried about this. But he said, don't worry, it'll all change. It'll all change very soon. This was around the time when, you know, there was a lot of news breaking about priests having affairs and having children left, right and centre, not to mention the odd bishop or two. So it was very topical at the time. Kay.
This can't go on, Malachy.
I know.
Then why are you here?
I love you.
Please, it's not fair.
Do you love me?
Stop it.
Do you?
You know I do, but so what? I'm sorry, Malachy, but how can we have any kind of future together while you're a priest?
We can't.
Then I think it's better that we don't see each other anymore.
I can't do that either. I want to be with you, whatever it takes.
What's that supposed to mean?
It means if I have to leave the priesthood, I will.
You'd be leaving for me.
I'd be leaving for myself.
You'd be leaving for me.
Listen to me. I've gone over this in my head till I've gone nearly crazy. And I keep coming back to the same thing. I love you, Kay. And I want to be with you.
Malachy.
I've arranged to see Bertie Flynn tomorrow. I'm leaving the priesthood.
You're sure? You're really, really sure?
Come here. I'm sure.
There are more affairs in 1999, and this time it's Harry Malloy who's at it when Dolores' friend Shelley comes to stay.
Kind-hearted Dolores decided to help out her friend Shelley, and she felt terribly sorry for her. Her marriage had broken up and she needed somewhere to stay, so Dolores said, oh, come. But Shelley was very attractive and very Machiavellian. And Harry tried to resist, being the good man that he was. But eventually he succumbed to Shelley and her wiles, and they had an affair. Eventually, anyway, Dolores found out about it and all hell broke loose because she never thought that Harry would betray her. So why did you come? Why, Shelley? For this.
Lorraine goes through the trauma of Jack's trial for rape.
You drank a cup of coffee with him and had a chat?
Not then.
Oh, I beg your pardon. That was afterwards, wasn't it?
Yes.
After the sex?
After the rape.
First, he raped you, then you had a nice cup of coffee. Is that what you're saying?
It wasn't like that.
And isn't it the case that you felt cheated?
No, I was scared.
And out of your confusion and your feeling of injustice, you decided to get revenge, didn't you?
No.
And you decided to call it rape. Isn't that correct?
No, he raped me.
No further questions.
I think Fair City and all soaps actually have a limited but important impact where social issues are concerned. I mean, you know, you're very limited in what you can do. We're before the watershed. We're a half an hour for a couple of nights a week. But it does have, perhaps not a responsibility, but it certainly has a certain ability to comment on social things going on. And that's come up quite a lot.
In answer to question 1, did Dr. Jack Shanahan sexually assault Lorraine Malloy? Yes.
Yes!
The jury assesses damages at £150,000 plus costs.
Oh my God, I don't believe it.
And with that behind her, Lorraine finds happiness with her first love, Jimmy Doyle.
Oh.
Is it okay?
Jimmy, it's gorgeous. I love it. Oh.
Are you ready?
Just trying
And when Malachy leaves the priesthood, he and Kay marry.
The next big thing that happened to them was the adopting of Lorcan, who was Carol's son, who was a very troubled young boy. And against Kay's better judgment, they actually paid Carol to sign the adoption papers.
I wish I could turn the clock back, Lorcan.
Not this again.
Ah, please, will you hear me out? She'd given Lorcan up for adoption, well, for foster care, when he was very young, because she couldn't look after him, because she had him when she was around 15. You might even consider moving back in with me. I don't know what else to do, Lorcan.
I've never had a real home, like this one, and that's your fault, not mine.
I was in it for 8 weeks, and then I was out for a little while, and then they contacted me again, and they said, we'd like you to come back in. And then the character just developed, and the rest is history.
After the disaster with Leo, Niamh falls back on the old faithful Barry.
And if there's somebody out there...
When her world started tumbling down around her, it was Barry, who was her knight in shining armour, came back and helped pick her up off the ground, pick up the pieces, and then they got engaged.
I'm asking you to marry me. Niamh? No, you don't have to answer right now. You can think it over.
No, it's just, No, there's nothing to think over, Barry. Of course I'll marry you. I'll marry you in the morning if you like. Yes.
Though planning a marriage to Barry, Niamh makes a play for his best friend Paul, and once again things end in tears.
Paul wasn't married at the time, but Niamh was engaged to Barry. I think with Paul, it was her first major love affair.
While Lorraine and Jimmy finally make it up the aisle, disaster strikes the couple on their honeymoon in Florida, when Lorraine is killed in a hurricane.
Eternal rest grant unto her, O Lord. May she rest in peace.
Amen. Soapland, it's definitely Soapland. Anything can happen. Like, you do in Soapland things that you could never ever do in real life.
"2001 begins with another controversial story for Kay and Malachy, when Kay discovers she is pregnant.
Yeah.
So, how'd you get on with the doctors?
We had a chat.
And what was the diagnosis? Did you get a tonic?
No.
Kay, is there something bigger?
Yes.
Is it serious?
It is. I'm pregnant, Malachy.
Kay had been told long before Malachy ever met her that she couldn't have children. So when he married her, he knew this, and so he wasn't expecting any children.
The results show that the fetus has a chromosomal disorder.
But soap being soap, it had to have complications.
How bad will it be? I need to know.
It's probable that it will be born blind, deaf, and with no sense of smell.
She decided to terminate the pregnancy, and that led to the whole can of abortion worms opening out all over the screen. And it was a very, very fascinating story to play. In this instance, he was so enormously overwhelmed by the possibility of becoming a father that he couldn't contemplate for an instant this now being taken away from him, this gift that he never expected just been taken from him, and he let that colour his judgment.
Do you not think I'm suffering this loss too? I'm feeling it just as much as you, maybe even more, because I was the one who had to make the decision.
That's the whole point. It was my baby too, but I didn't get to decide. I didn't have a say, and nor did my child.
Malachy never comes to terms with Kay's actions, and they eventually separate. Leo has the record for Carrigstown marriages, and Pauline becomes wife number 3 in 2001.
I give you this ring as a token that I will love and honour you always.
Pauline, she was the big love of Leo's life because she was a financially independent woman, which is very, very attractive to Leo, because there's also this little grain that's running through Leo's character where he's a bit of a tightwad. So that was very attractive, that she would be financially independent. But Pauline was a very, very emancipated woman, but also extremely sensual. So it was a terrific package.
I'll break it up there, Mary.
Still reeling from the death of her daughter and Harry's infidelity, Dolores finds comfort with the dashing Frank.
I am an old-fashioned guy.
Dolores was doing all sorts of things to kind of get herself back together again, if you like, and decided to get the house done up. And this very suave painter came into the house who had kind of a movie star thing going on about him, you know, kind of Clark Gable looks, and he had worked in a circus as a ringmaster, and he started to come on to her a bit.
Excuse me, can I have a quiet word?
Oh, Harry, hi.
Right, well, I'll see you tomorrow.
Yeah.
Okay, Dolores, what's going on?
Harry, it was nothing. This friendship developed, and eventually she went with it and had an affair with him. Will you stay with me tonight?
But you said you didn't want anything to start between us.
I just don't want to be alone tonight. She kind of felt justified, I think, because she had been betrayed, and I don't think she ever intended it to go very far, but it did become an affair. So, you know, there were consequences. Frank.
Huh?
Frank.
Come here.
No. You have to go.
Do I?
But at that stage, she had decided she wanted to break away from Frank. That really, Harry was the person she wanted to be with.
Dolores, what's this all about? You've been avoiding me for weeks.
Frank, I'm pregnant. Promise me you won't say anything. Nobody knows about us. I want this baby to be Harry's.
But what if it's mine?
I don't want any trouble. Harry and I have been married for years.
So?
And you and I, we were just together once. I don't want to lose my marriage.
Then why am I here?
To stop this. There's no point in guessing. This baby is Harry's.
That's what you want?
Yeah.
But the big story of the year, and the biggest ever for Fair City, centred around crime boss Billy Meehan, who married Carol with only Lorcan suspecting what a psycho he was.
She was with Billy because I think he was exciting and he was dangerous, and I think they had a very strong natural chemistry. And she's edgy, so, I mean, she attracted edgy, but she attracted danger more than just edgy. I think there's probably a huge sexual attraction. You know, he had power. She liked the bling of it all. He was fun, it was exciting. But then, you know, the other side was he was violent and he was dangerous.
You want to help me?
No!
Answer me! Answer me! You want to help me, Carol?
No!
Is that it? I don't hear
looking out for you.
Dreadful things happened to her. He had an affair with her best friend, her bridesmaid.
You're a saucy little twat, you know that?
It's only because I care about you, Billy. Wouldn't be like that with anybody else.
Yeah, sure. Well, you're after getting the best out of me. I can tiptoe off now. I need me rest.
Why'd you always do that, Billy?
What?
When you want something, you know, you're nice to me. Then when you get it, you treat me like a...
Slapper? Because that's what you are. That's what I like about you. You know what you are.
He beat her up when she was pregnant. She lost the baby.
Carol!
Carol!
You dirty...
Carol!
Get out! Get out! Get out! I'm being you, you stupid bitch! Get out of my house! Get out! I'll kill you!
Carol!
How could you do this to me? We're married 2 days! 2 days, Billy! And you're screwing around!
No, you just hang on. She's been sniffing around me ever since she laid eyes on me. Laying her on a plate for me. You haven't actually been fulfilling that role now, have you?
I don't believe this! You're screwing around with my best friend! And it's my fault! She's a slut! And so are you!
Watch what you say.
How long has this been going on? The pair of you disappeared at the wedding. Thought you were sorting out the cake or something. But you weren't, were you? You little shit! You were giving her one on my wedding day!
I want you. I don't take that from no. I gave you everything. I gave you this place, a car, everything, Carol. But it wasn't enough for you. Oh no, never enough.
Don't give me your shite. You can have it back, because I wouldn't touch it, you dirty lying bastard, you.
Shut up, I told you.
No, I won't. And when my child's old enough to understand, I'm gonna tell him what a dirty little shit you are.
I told you, shut up, Carol.
And they're never gonna see him. You're never gonna see him.
That was horrendous. I mean, that was really gritty stuff. That was probably the grittiest stuff I've seen in Fair City. That way, if you know what I mean. You know, violently. And I think we only shot it once. And I'm glad we only shot it once because it's very hard to shoot those kind of scenes over and over again. Number one, you lose the freshness of the scene and the momentum of the whole scene, you know, because it becomes too technical. So if you can get it in one, it's always easier. Number two, it's very disturbing to have to go into that kind of stuff over and over again. It's because it's hard, you know. It's ugly, you know.
It's obvious you can't be trusted. I think I'm gonna put a big B right there.
The final scene was Billy's actually about to rape her.
I told you, you're going nowhere.
And Lorcan comes in. It's always the famous scene of him walking in. You see the feet coming into the apartment, going down the stairs. And I'm on the ground, and Stuart Dunn, who's playing Billy, is on top of me.
Oh, yeah, but I'm gonna teach you a lesson. Oh, well, if it isn't the little bastard son.
Lorcan, get out now!
Come to watch, have you? Put her away, kid. You wouldn't have to pull.
And next thing, the golf club gets swung up. And boom, that's the end of Billy.
Have you grown? I think you've grown.
In 2002, Ray O'Connell's son, Mondo, comes to Carrigstown looking for his father.
When I started to play him, he was kind of a teenage delinquent running from his mother, kicked out of his own house. So I came to Carrigstown, you know, looking for his dad, who he hadn't seen in years. Arrived at the garage one day and said, how are you, dad? And that was him in Carrigstown.
I'm not even allowed to smoke in the art.
Mondo quickly begins a relationship with the young Ciara Cassidy.
I'm taking the day off. Anyone interested?
Yeah, I am.
It's mad. The amount of people who don't know what it's actually short for. It's short for Raymond. So, you know, Raimondo. When I read the name, I kind of wanted to ask them to change it because I thought it was crap. But I've come around to it now. I think it's cool.
That's
Baby Jessica arrives and Dolores is letting Harry think the child is his.
Dolores had lost her beloved daughter, Lorraine, when she went away on her honeymoon. She'd been killed in a hurricane. So she had buried her beautiful daughter and had, you know, hadn't really fully recovered from that either, you know. So the idea of having another child was partly appealing to her, you know, even though the circumstances were pretty devastating.
The Doyle girls are now all grown up and very different people.
What the hell are you doing?
What the hell are you doing just walking into my flat?
Yvonne, oh God. Yeah, Yvonne. What can I say about her, really? Herself and Suzanne just really, they just really hate each other. And every script I get, there seems to be something new that you're just going to go, oh, they're never going to get back on track, are they?
Suzanne actually is his favourite. But the one he really is concerned with is Yvonne, and he gets very depressed and very broken-hearted when she acts up and decides to throw a mobbler. She went into depression and she went onto drugs. And she had sort of this schizophrenic existence.
I didn't set out to hurt you. Or anyone else. I just wanted everything to stop.
Yvonne, no matter how bad things are, you always have us, love, right?
3, 2, 1, action.
I brought Renee over last Sunday so that she and Brenda could talk.
What did you talk about?
The day Floyd died.
Let me guess. It made matters worse.
I told you it was a bad idea.
So many things have developed over the 6 years that I've been in the show, and it's all coming to this point where he's up for murder, and Willie here won't get off.
Eddie, am I still leaning in, or are we now set in this position?
Only in Fair City would you get a story like this. When anybody asks me, so what are you doing, what's going on the soap? I go, well, my wife in the show is having a love affair with her half-brother, as you do. He's dying, and I'm going to murder him, and then we're going to have a court case about that. And they go, wow, that really is soap, isn't it? I go, yeah, it is.
Are they taking that away?
How would you describe Mr. Brendan Daly's relationship with the deceased?
Hostile. They weren't exactly drinking buddies.
Would it be fair to say that your original statement was influenced by your partner's emotional state?
No. I'm only saying that Dr. Daly had every reason to be angry, but I never once saw it cross over to his treatment of Floyd.
The family are split. Obviously, he was the one who injected him, who killed him in the end. So it's not easy trying to convince